One of the primary reasons why nice guys struggle in intimate relationships and male friendships is because they either suppress or overreact when it comes to their emotions, and they cannot communicate or articulate how they're thinking and how they're feeling correctly to their partner or to their friend. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about my experience with communication in intimate relationships and male friendships in the past. This is such an important component for the nice guy to understand, and also for his mental health and well-being. We're in this life for the long term. We need to understand how to create deeper and more meaningful connections and sustainable relationships with our intimate partners and with our friends. Now, I'm going to start on the point of intimate relationships today. I think for most nice guys, when they get into this work, they've come from a point where relationship after relationship breaks down, or they've been in a long-term relationship and it's come to an end, and they're trying to solve what was going on. Was it the other person? Was it something within themselves? Or was it a bit of both? Now, I've had 3 longer-term relationships, and I'm in my 4th longer-term relationship in my adult life. And when I look back at my past relationships, and even in this relationship now, I can see some of these reoccurring patterns. More so in the past relationships, I wanted to talk about the emotions, 3 main emotions that I wasn't effective with dealing with, that I'd either suppress or overreact with at times. And this is because I was trying to keep up that nice guy image, always perfect, always put together. One of the biggest things that I can reflect on, and what I believe happened with these relationships too, is because I was trying to keep up that perfect image, so that over time my partner saw that I actually struggled to deal with these emotions, with anger, with sadness, and with fear. They saw that I wasn't strong enough to actually handle the emotions. And I don't mean to push them down, but I mean to actually be with these emotions and communicate how I was feeling. So the first emotion that I want to talk about is anger. One of the biggest things that nice guys struggle with, and that I have struggled with, is having a healthy relationship with anger, understanding that it is a protective emotion. It allows us to set boundaries. It allows us to set up for ourselves. Now, what I saw in my relationships in the past, and what I can reflect on, is the fact that I didn't use anger in a healthy way by setting boundaries with my partner. When I actually feel like a boundary was overstood, or maybe at times I was being tested. This is a big thing that you'll learn if you read or listen to the book, No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. There's other books that disclose on this out there. This idea of shit testing or probing, when your female partner, or maybe even your male partner, is literally testing the waters with you to see how you react to something. They might say something or do something to see how grounded, how stable you can remain, and how you can actually control your emotions. Not pushing them down, not letting them explode, but actually being with them and still being able to communicate that effectively. So at times where I felt like my boundaries are crossed, I was so conflict avoidant in the past, I didn't want to meet them in confrontation. I would just shut it down over time. Now, the problem with this is that when you shut emotions down, they still quietly run the show in the background. So if I shut down anger at times, 2 things would usually happen. I'd either become very cold and withdrawn. And when I look at this, I'd hate to be on the other foot of this, because I experienced this growing up as well. It is when someone is there physically, but they are not there to actually talk with you. They're not going to interact in conversation. If you try to talk to them, they're just going to be dismissive and avoidant, and you almost feel that heat. I know I said cold, but there's a bit of anger beneath the skin there that they're not letting out. And you can always tell something's up, and it's quite frustrating because they're not actually going to bring it up with you. So I struggled with anger. The other way that anger was running the show in the background was that it would leak out with passive aggression, little narky comments at times, saying something but not fully saying what I was feeling. And if you've ever been on the back end of this, that just feels plain frustrating and annoying, being on the receiving end as well. Like, just say it how it is. So if my partner had done something that had frustrated me, rather than just meet it, tell them directly in a controlled manner, I would just make little comments over time, or I'd let it build up, and this is the other way it starts to come out, until I'd actually explode and get angry. Oh, you always did this. You've done this 4 times now. It's like, why didn't I just tell them in the first place? If they had done something that was frustrating or upsetting, meeting that emotion, hey, the way you did this here just frustrated me a little bit. Can we talk about it? And it doesn't mean that I'm right or wrong, depending on what the thing was, what the situation was, but it means that I'm actually letting them know how I'm feeling in my body, and as a result, what I'm thinking too. Now, when it comes to anger, we can use this, as we said, as a protective energy at times. Now, when your partner sees that you haven't got a healthy relationship with anger, it either leaks out or you can't use it as well. You bottle it down or you press it down. How are they going to feel safe around you? If you actually need to use anger as a protective emotion, if someone is being aggressive towards them, but you can't even stand up for yourself and you shut it down, how are you going to stand up for them? Or on the other hand, if you're in a situation where you can never put a lid on it and it's always exploding, same problem. They feel unsafe. It feels out of control. It feels explosive, and they don't want to be around that. So when it comes to emotional control, and specifically with anger, it's about using it as that protective energy. How do we actually stand up for ourselves, set boundaries and stand up for the person that we love? And this could be friends or family members as well. Now, moving on to sadness. So when it comes to sadness in relationship, what I noticed for myself in the past is there'd be times where I felt underappreciated, and typically for the nice guy, that can happen a lot because you're setting a lot of covert contracts. You have an assumption of the outcome for you doing something for someone else, that they should do something for you, and this can also equate to anger, but also sadness, like you feel underappreciated all the time. Now, there's a big difference between setting these covert contracts, these assumptions that if I do this, they will do this for me, or actually being someone where you are supporting your partner a lot and you're not feeling that back. You're not feeling the love and the connection or the support being reciprocated there. And that's okay to be sad about that, but you've got to be able to communicate that too. Now, one thing that I was thinking about on this point here, because I actually filmed this video before and the mic wasn't on, hence why I'm filming it again, is that when it comes to expressing how we are feeling, what we are thinking, whether it's anger, sadness, or fear to your partner, we've got to remember how they're feeling as well. We can't just make it about us. So when it comes to sadness, hey, I'm feeling underappreciated here. I just noticed you're not present, or you're not being as supportive as I felt like I've been for you, with whatever's currently going on. But what's going on in their life? Like, what's going on in their friendships, relationships, at work? Are they super stressed? Have they been really angry? Have they been really sad? What's going on for them? So when it comes to communication, it's not only us being able to express ourselves and communicate our needs or how we're feeling, the emotions that we're dealing with, but understanding maybe what's on their plate as well, so we can have this open dialogue. If either party feels like the other one is being highly selfish, there's not going to be that room for emotional vulnerability, or even just having a vulnerable or a tough conversation there. So it's good to understand where they're coming from. So when it came to sadness in my past relationships, I think I carried sadness or even grief from past relationships into the new one, from my childhood, from that feeling of abandonment into these relationships. And that can look like two things. It can look like being very anxious and clingy, or it can look like being very avoidant and withdrawn. And they're both coping mechanisms. So you can imagine if you've been someone who is scared of feeling abandoned, rejected, you're going to do your best to try get your partner to give you that love and that admiration and that craving for feeling connected, for lack of a better term. I've run out of words there. You're going to be a little bit more clingy. Now, that is very repelling, especially if your partner is avoidant. Now, if you're avoidant, what this looks like, and I moved from being probably more anxious, like anxiously attached, to probably more avoidant, because what I noticed over time is that when I was more anxious, it would just push them away more and more and more. And maybe I just adopted that pattern myself. But my belief, my understanding of when we become avoidant is that we are so scared to feel so deeply, to be in that relationship, to be dependent on someone else, to crave that love and connection from someone else. So we'd rather just pull back and withdraw than get hurt. We would rather protect ourselves from feeling the weight of that sadness or of that loss than actually dealing with it. So you've got to look at relationships in the past, Is that something that you did? Did you get super clingy or did you start to withdraw? Because both are unhealthy ways of being in relationship and even being in your friendships as well. If you feel underappreciated by friends, not expressing your feelings, but if you become more anxious and you're always craving their attention, or you just withdraw and you're not talking to them at all, you're not going to have a sustainable friendship with them too. So moving on to the next one. When it comes to fear, there's one thing that really stood out for me. I'm someone who will tend to keep up this, nice guy persona. I've got to do everything perfectly so people accept me and approve of me. And this showed up in my work and how I was going to do things. So I tried to impress people with the things that I said I was going to do, but I wouldn't actually follow through with them. Now, there's a big problem with this because you're not admitting to the actual fear that you might have to do something, and you're acting courageous in the moment. But then over time, people see that you're actually probably just scared of doing the thing, and you should probably be a little bit more expressive of that fact. Hey, this is actually a hard thing for me to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. But maybe I need a little bit of your support or a little bit of your backing to do it. That's going to be a lot better than you telling your partner all the time that you're going to do this and you're going to do that, but you never follow through. On the same basis, how is your partner going to learn to trust and rely on you if you can't even follow through with your own word, if you can't be responsible for the things that you said and followed through with actions? This is something that I've probably carried a lot of shame about in the past, and I believe really was a fault line in many past relationships, is that I just didn't follow through with what I said I was going to do. And even in this current relationship, I've had times where I said I was going to do this, we should do this, or we should do that, and I haven't followed through. Now, the thing is remembering that we don't have to be perfect. But if we said we're going to do 10 things and we do six of them, it's better than doing none at all and just continuing to say the things that we are going to do with our intimate partner. The same for friendships. Your mates are going to lose respect for you. If you're trying to make new male friends, they're going to lose respect for you if you're just that guy who talks it up all the time and can't follow through with action. So the three main emotions that we talked about today: anger, sadness, fear. There is plenty of other main emotions, but these are three of the primary emotions. And in my experience, these were some of the harder ones to sit with, some of the ones that I'd shut down, some of the ones that I'd explode with at times. And I brushed over that past point there, but when we look at the sadness and the fear, if we press them down and act like they're not there, our partner's going to see that we actually can't sit with the truth or the reality of those emotions. And on the other hand, if we press it down for that long and it starts to leak out, or it starts to explode, we have a massive emotional breakdown, or we just get really scared, anxious, and panicky all the time, that's going to feel very unsafe and unsettling for our partner as well. So the man watching today, what do you do in learning this information here? Well, you go learn it from the best. You go read the No More Mr. Nice Guy book or listen to the audio version. There's probably a few podcasts on YouTube as well. But you take the time to ask yourself, what are the emotions that I struggle to deal with? And they come up in relationship. What do you feel like triggers you in your relationship that you shut down or you explode with? If you're like me, it was probably like a boiling pot at times where you'd let it simmer, you'd ruminate on it, then at some point it starts to leak out, whether it's passively or in a very explosive reaction there. Ask yourself those questions, start to gain some awareness and some insight. My next point of advice is that if you feel like you can't communicate it in your relationship right now, find some support, whether it's a therapist, whether it's some supportive mates, whether it's a men's group or a men's community, a men's circle, whatever it may be, that you can actually start practicing talking and opening up about these emotions, not suppressing them and not overreacting with them. Doing it in a safe space, because it's a skill like any other that you'll need to practice to then transfer into your relationship. For the guy that is single and he's struggling to get into a relationship, the same thing. If you don't work on this now, it's going to show up in your relationship. I was single for like 4 years, not dating at all. And I did a little bit of the work then that helped to get into my relationships. But it was usually after those relationships that had broken down that I started to notice these patterns more and more. I first read this book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, and then I started to actually action working on that. So do it whilst you're out of a relationship too, in the same fashion. Find a men's group or a men's community or supportive group of friends. Otherwise, maybe you can talk to a therapist. You can learn all you want online. You can watch those videos, you can read the book, but you actually need to practice the skill of articulating how you feel to other people in other relationships before you start to take it into your intimate relationship. If you do have that really good open dialogue with your partner now, but you notice you've been holding on to things a little bit more, maybe they have too, maybe you can start to open it up and practice that with them. That's enough for today, guys. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.